Beavis and Butthead returned in 2022, and after such a long absence, the dim-witted duo, they haven't grown at all. In a good way. The original series commented on 90s culture a lot, so naturally, this newer series tackles more recent developments, and we're exploring those topics today. Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and these are Beavis and Butthead Culture Wars 2022. Funny to hilariously brilliant. Beavis and Butthead are well-known couch potatoes. However, instead of being addicted to cable television, this new series saw them commenting on internet videos. These videos encompassed everything from ASMR, mukbangs, unboxings, twerking, and of course music videos. The format has changed, but Beavis and Butthead have not, giving the same snide, cynical, and ridiculous remarks. Beavis and Butthead were created by Mike Judge to comment on the generation of television-obsessed teenagers who were tuning into MTV, the very channel that was airing the show. Now that the new series is on a streaming service, Beavis and Butthead naturally are commenting on other internet videos.
That's disgusting.
It's very clear that the creator of the show is saying that the generation of lazy, moronic teenagers never really went away. They simply adapted from watching MTV to watching YouTube and Netflix. Mike Judge has commented on how stupidity can be passed down through different generations in the film Idiocracy, and it's great to see that the same satire be tackled within Beavis and Butthead. As with many shows and films nowadays, Beavis and Butthead delved into the multiverse. This was actually first commented on in last year's Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, which saw the duo traveling into the future from the 90s and meeting Smart Beavis and Smart Butthead. Here, it was explained that there are a multitude of different Beavis and Buttheads throughout the galaxies, which vary slightly despite being consistently horny and stupid. This was a great way to explain the 2011 series as well as opening the doors of potential for this new series. While most of the new episodes follow the teenage iterations of Beavis and Butthead,
Damn right.
several episodes follow the duo as middle-aged men who have aged from the 90s. This opens the door for new opportunities with Beavis and Butthead being alcoholics with health problems and adult responsibilities. Not only that, the introduction of the multiverse makes it possible for Beavis or Butthead to die at the end of any given episode, as the next episode can follow a different duo from a different timeline. Speaking of which, the introduction of the multiverse allowed certain versions of Beavis and Butthead to experience aging. While most episodes in the newer series follow the teenage versions of Beavis and Butthead, several episodes also follow middle-aged versions of them who have continued aging from the 90s. This opens the door for Beavis and Butthead to experience much more adult-oriented issues, such as alcoholism, kidney failure, jury duty, and more.
I've got big plans.
This is not dissimilar to the South Park post-COVID specials, Stewie Griffin, The Untold Story, or episodes of The Simpsons that take glimpses into the future. While Beavis and Butthead may experience different issues than what they have faced as teenagers, one thing that has stayed consistent is their crude, juvenile, and really dumb personalities, which unsurprisingly haven't evolved. No matter their age, they manage to deliver many laughs to audiences around the universe, and supposedly the multiverse. The first episode of this season involved Beavis and Butthead partaking in escape rooms. Well, sort of. When two girls need another duo to partake in a game, they recruit Beavis and Butthead, who are looking to impress chicks with their abilities. Unfortunately for them, Beavis and Butthead accidentally end up in the bathroom and believe that to be the room they're supposed to be escaping from.
It just doesn't make sense.
Escape rooms weren't really an activity back in the 90s, so neither the old series nor the 2011 episodes got to comment on this new pastime. It makes sense to us that Beavis and Butthead would use this opportunity to show off their incredible thinking skills to chicks, even if they aren't around to see them escape the bathroom. It may seem silly, but we're willing to bet they aren't the first horny teenagers to come up with this idea, even if Butthead would like to believe he is. 2022 also marked the year that Beavis and Butthead were introduced to the concept of white privilege. After traveling into a college classroom by accident, Beavis and Butthead are labeled by other students as having white privilege. So naturally, Beavis and Butthead assume this to be a superpower, and that they can do whatever they want without suffering any sort of consequences for their actions. While the class intended this to be a moment of reflection for the two, Beavis and Butthead, of course, take it to the extreme by stealing things, pushing over people, and stealing cop cars.
Sir, maybe you didn't know, but we have white privilege.
The college landscape has certainly changed from the 90s, and even then, Beavis and Butthead entering a college campus would have been a rare occurrence indeed. They are eventually apprehended by the police, but are released from jail shortly after. We're sure the college students in this film would indicate that as another clear sign of white privilege, though we don't expect Beavis or Butthead to understand the lesson. Beavis and Butthead also got to see the development of gaming through the use of virtual reality. At least that's what they think. In the episode Virtual Stupidity, which oddly enough shares the title of a Beavis and Butthead PC game, the duo mistake regular sunglasses as a VR headset and believe themselves to be playing a video game. This causes them to run amok in the mall, destroying property and attempting to kill themselves so that they can respawn with weapons.
We need a mission, dumbass.
This is not totally unlike the South Park episode Grounded Vindloop, where Cartman tricks Butters into believing he's playing a VR game when really he isn't. Beavis and Butthead do eventually wake in the hospital, where they believe their hospital equipment to be weapons and use them to attack a man who came to visit them. With gaming becoming as popular as it has, this episode is a subtle reminder of what happens when players are unable to distinguish fiction from reality, especially when they're as stupid as Beavis and Butthead. Is there a potential Beavis and Butthead VR game coming in the future? Only time will tell. One thing that has returned is Beavis's fascination with fire. For those of you who are unaware, Beavis's fascination with fire was a huge controversy back in the 90s, when a woman accused the show of inspiring her son to burn down their house, causing the death of a 2-year-old baby. This caused MTV to remove all references to fire in subsequent episodes, even though it was later revealed that the woman who made the claim was a drug addict who didn't even own cable and her son never saw the show. This allowed fire to be referenced once again in the 2011 series.
Fire.
And this new season continued with the trend, giving us an episode where Beavis meets a sentient fire in a dumpster. While initially worshipping it as a god, Beavis grows tired when the fire starts making him do really lame activities, such as exercising, reading a book, and start thinking about college. This is a classic take on the never meet your idols trope, with Beavis losing interest in the fire and asking an employee to extinguish it. The fire controversy itself was possibly referenced indirectly in the later episode Weird Girl. Here, an unstable girl who has a crush on Beavis burns down the school gymnasium in an attempt to impress him, which bears a striking similarity to the original story that the woman told in the 90s. At any rate, we're glad the past controversies of the show do not continue to cause censorship all these years later, which shows us the benefits for being able to move on from the past. As crude and vulgar as they are, one episode last season actually helped in improving that, when Butthead started taking medication. After realizing Butthead has problems with anger and violence, the school psychiatrist, Mrs. Oritz, gives him pills to help subdue his less favorable tendencies. Butthead then starts popping pills like candy, leading him to change drastically. This new Butthead turns out to be much more well-spoken, professional, and intelligent than his previously unmedicated self, leading him to finally excel in school.
A banana.
However, as this continues, Beavis starts to miss the old Butthead, who would beat him up and laugh at juvenile jokes with him. There's so much commentary in this episode from so many angles, including how medication can drastically change a person, and how Butthead's own toxic friendship with Beavis is a huge part of the reason why the two can never mature. We also learn that Beavis feels lost without Butthead constantly insulting him and beating him up, which is very true for many people in dysfunctional friendships and relationships. Perhaps in the multiverse, there could exist a version of Butthead who continued to get the help he needed and become a model student, but this certainly wasn't the case this time around. Speaking of the multiverse, middle-aged Beavis and Butthead also experienced participating in jury duty. In an obvious homage to 12 Angry Men, Beavis and Butthead vote against the rest of the jurors in a manslaughter case.
Manslaughter.
On the basis that they think a guy who breaks the law is cool. This causes a huge delay in the prosecution, as everyone else in the room replays the videotape to convince Beavis and Butthead that the man did indeed commit the crime. Upon re-watching the tape several times, the other jury members begin to realize inconsistencies that do seem to indicate that the defendant in the case is innocent. This causes a second vote, where everyone agrees that the man is innocent, except for Beavis and Butthead, who want him thrown in jail for taking credit for a crime he didn't commit. This is where Beavis and Butthead's stupidity actually comes in handy, even though it ultimately results in a hung jury. Hung. Either way, this experience taught Beavis and Butthead a valuable lesson, which is receiving $14 for jury duty doesn't buy them as much beer as they hoped. Beavis and Butthead also took on the concept of the classic body swap formula, somewhat. In the episode Freaky Friday, we'll leave you to speculate what film this story is spoofing, Beavis and Butthead believed they swapped bodies once they got knocked out by a disgruntled customer who's annoyed aside from them shaking soda bottles as a prank. When they come to, Beavis and Butthead look into a window, which they believe to be a mirror, and see the other person. This causes Beavis and Butthead to think that they switch bodies, resulting in them exchanging clothes and attempting to act like the other person.
That's it, Butthead. I'm kicking your ass.
The funny part is that Beavis and Butthead are already so similar that switching bodies wouldn't really change them much if they actually did. The body swap premise may be an old one, but as usual, Beavis and Butthead's hilarious take on this issue prevents it from feeling stale or run into the ground in any way. Beavis and Butthead return to their job at Burger World, where they discovered the right to refuse service. The attitude of the customer service industry has shifted over the years, as the classic mantra of "the customer is always right" has pretty much been rejected by most current companies. Nowadays, if customers are being rude, belligerent, or intolerable, many managers will put the well-being of their staff over that of a toxic stranger looking to harass employees. Of course, Beavis and Butthead, being who they are, take this to the extreme and refuse service to pretty much anyone, causing absolute chaos to ensue in Burger World.
I refuse.
This is a good reminder that while it's definitely okay to refuse service during the right circumstances, such as a rude customer, that does not indicate that you can treat everyone who comes into a store or restaurant like garbage. Given the current issues with labor shortage and teenage employees, we wouldn't be surprised if Beavis and Butthead find themselves in more situations like this in subsequent seasons. But real quick, before we get to our last entry, if you're enjoying this video, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We ask because we'd really appreciate the help getting to our next milestone, and we have lots more videos we'd love to share with you. Thanks a lot, guys. And finally, religion and spirituality. In the only 22-minute episode this season, Beavis sees Jesus' face on a nacho, which makes him go to church and ask for answers as to why he's never able to score.
Damn it, Lord, am I gonna score or not?
He fails to understand the teachings of the priest, so he goes to a synagogue and asks a rabbi instead. Neither Beavis nor Butthead have been portrayed as the most religious people, probably stemming from the fact that they're much more interested in television, sex, nachos, and fire. The concepts of Judaism and Christianity go over their heads, but their tunes change once they find an abstinence group who they believe are conducting an orgy. A lot of their humor is derived from misunderstandings between the people who they're interacting with, and this is no exception. Much like many issues that the show covers, this episode isn't saying anything for or against religion, and instead satirizes how these two really moronic teenagers could misunderstand the concept entirely. Whether you're a Christian, Jewish, a Muslim, an atheist, or any other belief, we can all be thankful that we aren't as lost as Beavis and Butthead. Alright guys, that's it. Let us know in the comment section what you think the funniest Beavis and Butthead episode of 2022 was, as well as what we should cover next. Make sure to hit that notification bell and binge our other videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.